Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 118b, part 2, with the words Lema Minyan Poter, Tanaihi, V'chule. The Gemara suggests, let us say, that with regard to the dispute over whether the owner's counting of his flock exempts a thief who returned a stolen lamb without notifying the owner, it is a dispute between Tanaim, as it is taught in a Braita, with regard to one who robbed another and then included the money he owed him for the robbery in the calculation of the payment for a different transaction. In other words, he compensated the owner by overpaying him for a different transaction. It is taught in one Braita he has fulfilled his obligation to pay, and it is taught in another Braita he has not fulfilled his obligation to pay. The sages discussing the matter assumed that everyone accepts the statement of Rabbi Yitzchak. As Rabbi Yitzchak says, a person is prone to feel his purse constantly, and therefore becomes aware that he has been compensated soon after the payment is made. What, is it not with regard to this following point that they disagree? The one who says that the robber has fulfilled his obligation holds that the counting of the property exempts a robber from further liability, and the one who says that the robber has not fulfilled his obligation holds that the counting does not exempt a robber from further liability. The Gemara responds, one can say that if we held in accordance with the statement of Rabbi Yitzchak, it would follow that everyone agrees that the counting of the property exempts a robber from further liability. Rather, it is with regard to the statement of Rabbi Yitzchak itself that they disagree. One sage accepts the statement of Rabbi Yitzchak, and one sage does not accept the statement of Rabbi Yitzchak. And if you wish, say, instead, that everyone accepts the statement of Rabbi Yitzchak, and it is not difficult. The first Braita, which rules that the robber fulfilled his obligation, is discussing a case where the robber counted the money and placed it directly in the owner's purse, which the owner will soon open and count. And the other Braita, which rules that a robber did not fulfill his obligation, is discussing a case where he counted the money and placed it in the owner's hand. Consequently, it is possible that the owner will put the money directly into a container with other coins in it and will never realize that he was compensated for the theft. That doesn't make sense to me, because if he placed it in the owner's hand, how could he have not realized it? Okay, but anyway, and if you wish, say, instead, that both this Braita and that Braita are discussing a case where the robber counted the money and placed it in the owner's purse. This Braita discusses a case where he has other dinars in his purse, but he did not know how many. Therefore, when he counts the money, he will not realize that the robber inserted an additional sum. Whereas that Braita is discussing a case where he does not have other dinars in his purse, so that when he counts the money, he will realize that an additional sum has been included in the payment. Mishnah, new Mishnah. One may not purchase wool, milk, and kids from the shepherds who tend the flocks of others, due to the concern that they have stolen these items from the owners of the flocks. And similarly, one may not purchase wood and produce from produce watchmen. Interesting. But one may purchase from women woolen goods in Judea and linen goods in the Galilee and calves in the Sharon, as women in these locations often work with those commodities, and it can be assumed that they are selling the items with the owner's consent. And with regard to all these items, in a case where the seller told the buyer to conceal the purchase, it is prohibited, as there is good reason to suspect that the items are stolen. And one may purchase eggs and chickens from everywhere, as it is unlikely that one would steal and sell these commodities. I don't follow that logic. I mean, just because it's common doesn't mean that it's not likely stolen. In fact, it might even increase the probability of it being stolen. But anyway. Gemara, says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan. The sages taught in Braita, Tosefta 11:9. One may purchase from shepherds neither goats, nor kids, nor fleeces, nor torn pieces of wool, but one may purchase sewn garments from them, because they are presumed to be theirs. And one may purchase milk and cheese from them in an unsettled area, but not in a settled area. And one may purchase from them 4 or 5 sheep, or 4 or 5 fleeces at a time, because it is unlikely that a shepherd would risk stealing such a significant quantity at once. But one may not purchase 2 sheep, and similarly one may not purchase 2 fleeces at a time, as it is reasonable to assume that the shepherd would attempt to steal this amount from the owner. The Braita continues, Rabbi Yehuda says, one may purchase domesticated animals from them, as it is unlikely that the shepherds would steal them from their owner, who would notice if they did not return home. Conversely, one may not purchase desert, i.e. non-domesticated animals from them. One may not purchase desert animals or non-domesticated animals from them, as it is more likely that a shepherd would steal these animals. The principle of the matter is that with regard to anything that the shepherd sells and the owner would perceive its absence, if it were stolen, one may purchase it from them. But if the owner would not perceive its absence, one may not purchase it from them. The Gemara examines the Braita. The master said that one may purchase from them 4 or 5 sheep or 4 or 5 fleeces at a time. Now that it can be said that we may buy 4 sheep, as it is unlikely that the shepherd would steal such a large quantity at one time, is it necessary to state that we may buy 5? The Gemara answers that Rav Chisda said the meaning of the Braita is that one may purchase 4 sheep out of a flock consisting of 5 sheep, as it is reasonable to assume that the shepherd would not attempt to steal 4/5 of the owner's flock, and there are those who say that Rav Chisda said as follows: 4 sheep may be purchased from a shepherd of a small flock, and 5 may be purchased from the shepherd of a large flock. The Gemara asks another question with regard to the Braita. This matter itself is difficult, as you said in the Braita. One may purchase from them 4 or 5 sheep, or 4 or 5 fleeces at a time, which indicates that purchasing 4 or 5, yes, it is permitted, but purchasing 3, no, it is prohibited. Say the latter clause, but one may not purchase 2 sheep. This indicates that we may purchase 3 sheep at a time. The Gemara answers, this is not difficult. This clause, which permits the purchase of the 3 sheep, is discussing a case where the sheep are robust, and therefore the owner is more attentive to them and would notice if 3 were missing. Conversely, that clause, which prohibits the purchase of 3 sheep, is discussing a case where the sheep are frail. Consequently, the owner does not care about them as much, and it is possible that he would not notice if only 3 of them were missing. The Braita teaches that Rabbi Yehuda says one may purchase domesticated animals from them, but one may not purchase desert animals from them. A dilemma was raised before the sages. Is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda referring to the first clause, and his statement therefore is a stringency, or perhaps is referring to the latter clause, and his statement is a leniency? The Gemara elaborates, is it referring to the first clause, and his statement is therefore a stringency, as he would be saying, one may purchase 4 or 5 sheep from them, and this statement applies only to domesticated animals, but with regard to desert animals, even 4 or 5 sheep may not be purchased, or perhaps it is referring to the latter clause, and it is a leniency, as he would be saying, but one may not purchase 2 sheep, and similarly, one may not purchase 2 fleeces, and this statement applies only to desert animals, but with regard to domestic animals, one may purchase even 2 animals. The Gemara presents an answer. From a Braita, Tashima, come and hear a resolution to the dilemma. As it is taught in a Braita, that Rabbi Yehuda says, one may purchase domesticated animals from them, but one may not purchase desert animals from them. One may purchase domesticated animals from them, but one may not purchase desert animals from them. But one may always purchase 4 or 5 sheep from them.